and I'm really pleased to introduce Ryan Briggs, who's here from a company called Finwell, who's supporting us with our financial wellbeing. We've got 3 sessions over this week, and this is the first one. The session's being recorded, but I'll hand over to Ryan.
Brilliant. Thank you, Michelle, and welcome everyone. Good morning. Hope you all had a good weekend. I'll try and share my screen, Michelle, then, and we'll see if that works. Hope the technology doesn't fail us. Click there. And then let me know if that works. Is that okay?
Yeah, can see it. Yeah.
Brilliant. Sorry about that. My picture, I'll move on as quick as I can and get that off the screen. But yeah, so who am I and why am I here and what we're going to go over? So my name's Ryan Briggs. I'm the founder of a company called Finwell, as Michelle said, and we're really passionate about helping people understand and improve their financial well-being. Because there's a lot of talk about well-being, obviously, and a lot of focus being placed on it. But when it comes to financial well-being, there's quite a lot to learn, really, and it's not quite what we might think. But a little bit about me, as you can see there. I actually became a workplace financial education specialist, which is a bit of a mouthful, at my previous company. I'm also a mental health first aider. I'm a qualified level 4 qualified financial advisor, although I don't give advice. I set up this business to help people sort of with guidance and education, and then we work with numerous partners that actually give advice where needed. A little bit about my background. I was lucky enough to be involved with professional sport for a short while, and the reason I kind of say that is because it gave me an insight, I think, from quite an early age to lots of different people that have had lots of different journeys when it comes to money. And it really reinforces the fact that financial well-being doesn't just come down to money or how much we've got. Obviously, we'd all probably like a little bit more. That's obvious, but it really doesn't just come down to having more. So we'll go through a bit of that today and explore some of it. So the agenda, what we're going to go through, we'll have a little look at the problems really that we're facing. I think we all know that there's various challenges that we've all been through in the last couple of years, and maybe a few challenges ahead. We'll have a little look at what financial wellbeing means to you, and we'll try and keep it as interactive as possible. If you can, feel free to use the chat function and ask any questions that you might have throughout the session, and we'll have some time at the end to go through some of those. But I'll also ask you 3 questions to think about, and again, feel free to talk, to unmute yourself and talk, or put your thoughts in the chat on those. We're also going to look at what actually affects ways that we can hopefully improve it. We'll go through what we've come up with, which is 4 steps to improve financial well-being, whatever your age, whatever your income, whatever your family situation, your levels of experience, whatever that might be. There's kind of a 4-step guide that we've come up with, and we call it your financial PAWA, spelt PAWA, because that's the only way it worked with the acronyms. We'll also have a little look at how we believe we can improve financial well-being, and that's through access to education, guidance and advice. And then we'll go through kind of the 5 key areas along life's journey when it comes to finances, and I'll try and go through sort of some of our top tips on each of those. So hopefully everyone will take something away from it. And then we'll look at what next steps are available, and as Michelle said, what else is coming up, what else we're doing, and then we'll talk about some the Q&A and answer as many questions as possible. So the first thing we're going to just look at is what the problems are. Now, these stats, I'm not going to read them out. You can have just a read of them. The interesting thing, or quite surprising thing actually about these stats, is that they were actually pre-pandemic. So unfortunately, the problem is actually a lot worse. Financial well-being is a huge driver for all other areas of well-being, especially mental well-being. And as you can see there, the stats unfortunately aren't great. 59% of people having stress at work, money worries, financial pressures, and the low score there, the 7%, score, which is quite concerning, is that only 7% of employers giving access to some sort of guidance or advice. So it's really encouraging that Lint and other companies that we work with are placing so much emphasis on this. They're recognising the importance of it, which is really fantastic. And as it shows there with the sleep problems because of money worries, financial well-being does then intrinsically link to other areas of well-being, whether it's physical, social, and as I've said, mental well-being. So not good. Don't want to start off on a bad note, but we know some of the issues that are coming up at the moment. We know about the cost of living crisis, prices going up, inflation, interest rates, things on a global scale that are affecting us all. So it's going to be a challenging time, but there's lots of things that we can do. So we've got to remain positive about it. So the first question, I'm going to pick on Michelle, if I can, and ask her just to share a few thoughts. But the first question to think about, what does financial wellbeing mean to you? Feel free to use the chat. If you want to just put a few words in there or a couple of sentences, what does it actually mean to you? So Michelle, any thoughts at all?
For me, it's having a really good handle on my finances. So what's going on like now, so like my income and my outgoings, but also thinking about the future as well. So what events that I've got coming up. I've got 2 girls, which means, weddings at some point, maybe university. So just thinking about the future as well as what's going on at the moment.
Brilliant. And again, anything coming through on the chat, if you want to just
we've got Liam said ensuring that you can save, so you have the knowledge that if you have a big spend, it won't interrupt your lifestyle. Nadia said being secure. Anybody else?
Yeah, all good things.
Oh, we've got some more. Feeling like my finances could support with any challenges ahead without impacting my lifestyle. So similar to Liam, being on top of your finances, having a plan, and ensuring that I'm comfortable in my living and lifestyle.
Brilliant. Yeah, all good stuff. And again, I think with regards to financial well-being, it is personal. It can mean different things to different people, and that's absolutely fine. But as I've said, some of the things that financial well-being isn't how much you earn. It isn't how much you've got in the bank, or what you've got invested or saved, or where you go on holiday. It's really about how you feel and the attitudes that you have, the behaviours towards money, and how secure you feel around that. So we'll look at some of the explanations that some other companies have given. This is quite a nice one. So Aegon, big organisation, believe that it's how people feel about the control they have over their financial future and their relationship with money. That's very important. It's about focusing on the things that make your life enjoyable and meaningful, both now and in retirement. So quite a good explanation there. Another one from the Money and Pension Service. They believe it's about feeling secure and in control. It's knowing that you can pay the bills today, can deal with the unexpected, and on track for a healthy financial future. So in short, being confident and empowered. And when we do one-to-one guidance sessions, which are going to be made available to your teams as well, we have a way of coming up with a score, a way for us to measure and track and score our financial well-being, which I'll go onto in a minute. But there's actually 4 key areas, the 4 pillars of financial well-being, if we want to delve a little bit deeper, and we'll go over those. But it's basically our relationship with money, the ability to be able to pay bills and get through the month, the financial resilience, so being able to withstand a unexpected bill or a financial shock, and then, as you mentioned, Michelle, kind of planning for the future really, and having some confidence around that. And then the final quote that I like the most is, the one thing that's more important than our ability to earn money is our attitude towards it. So I think that's very important. So the next question, I'll pick on Michelle again, but feel free to put some thoughts in the chat. what are the things that we think are going to affect our financial well-being? You know, whether it's at home or at work, or a bit of both. You know, we're working in hybrid times now. So what are the things that you think could affect your financial well-being? Any thoughts, Michelle? Oh, I think you might be on mute.
How annoying after all this time. I was saying that COVID massively impacted my family situation. So my husband works in exhibitions, his work dried up, so we had a massive reduction in income. So there was COVID, but also now at the moment, I just think with the cost of living increases and rising energy bills, food bills, all things like that happening, and then how that's also affecting my pension, any like savings we've got or anything like that. So
yeah, definitely.
So what have we got in the chat? We've got external factors such as the cost of living. Somebody else saying cost of living going up, unexpected breakdown of things like washing machines, cookers, rising costs, change in employment, or even just social pressure, like what you should be doing. Interesting one.
Yeah, no, definitely. I think, the big C word with you know, COVID and the pandemic's had a huge impact. Whether, you know, it's affected us personally or someone else in the household, I think everyone's been affected in different ways. And it is, again, encouraging that there's a bit of a focus on this now, so we can look to understand what financial wellbeing actually is and ways that we can improve it. So all good stuff there. And then the final question, really, I suppose, and what I'll talk about, so it's not all going to be down to you, but how you can actually improve your financial well-being. So again, in the chat, feel free to put some thoughts in there. But Michelle, any ideas on ways to actually improve financial well-being?
So mine is just being aware of what's going on. So just educating myself, like reading what's going on, like different money saving tips. I like Martin Lewis's emails he sends out. Just being aware, like where the best interest rates are, just like reading and keeping up to date, I guess.
Definitely. Anything else coming through in the chat?
We've got something that says setting a budget, monitoring your costs, tracking your spends. There's lots of banking apps. This is Liam, who works in IT. So ensuring you're not overspending. Yeah, it's a really good one.
Yeah, brilliant. And the other one
sorry, one more. Nothing like a good spreadsheet to track your income and outgoings.
Yeah, brilliant. No, definitely fantastic. Yeah, all good things. And I think the other one that comes up quite often when I do these is talking. You know, we talk about mental health and well-being and the stigma and around that, and the fact that there's, you know, it's a bit of a taboo subject. It's interesting that actually financial matters are spoken about less. There's more of a stigma even around finances and money matters than there is around mental well-being, which is great to see how far mental health and well-being has come, but shows the work that maybe needs to be done around financial well-being. So yeah, all good stuff. All right, brilliant. Well, I'll move on. The first thing to maybe think about is that there's a scale. There's a scale for everyone. You know, you don't just have good or bad financial well-being. There's definitely a scale, and it can change. It can change throughout life. And I'll give you an example of that. With me personally, I don't mind sharing. You know, there's been times in my life where, you know, I've had money and good savings, you know, and some money behind me. And then the pandemic hit. I've got 2 young children, as Michelle knows, so I don't know where the money goes. But with the fact that my wife wasn't working and I was still working, but there wasn't as much money. So there'll be different times in our lives where you know, our financial well-being maybe is affected, and it can improve throughout, really. So important to first have a little think about where you might be on the scale, because some people are struggling more than others. That's fair. But to identify if you are at crisis point, or you know anybody that is at crisis point, what the options are and where you can possibly be signposted to. And one thing I just wanted to mention is an organisation, a charity called Step Change. Fantastic charity, offers free guidance and advice. So not a lot of people know about them, but do look them up. They're called Step Change. And if anybody you know might be struggling with debt and things are sort of spiraling out of control, you can signpost them to Step Change. They can get in touch on the website, phone them up, or do an application online, and they're really helpful. There's lots of things that they can do just to sort of get people back on their feet, and hopefully, through this scale back into sort of surviving and thriving if possible. So that's a little bit about that. We've come up with this guide, really, this 4-step guide called Financial PAWA. So the PAWA, I'll talk you through that. And really, this is just a way for anybody, as I say, to start a plan and to start getting back on track and starting to improve financial well-being. So I'll take you through it. The P is all about your personal financial well-being score. So I talk about the one-to-one guidance sessions that will be available. We go through that in a little bit more detail in those sessions, but everybody, you don't have to put it in the chat, don't have to share it, just keep it to yourself. Just have a little think about where you might be on the scale. If you was to score yourself out of 10, where might you be? If you look at the bottom end of that scale, that maybe a 1, 2 or 3, you might have negative feelings about money, not really feeling in control, not really feeling you've got too much knowledge or understanding, not really having too many plans in place, and lacking possibly in confidence. But as you go up the scale, you might start to feel a bit more positive, have a bit more understanding. But just have a little think, maybe jot it down and give yourself a score. The idea being that you can establish where you're at. We can then do something. So as Michelle said, just getting more education, reading, having access to content, and we've got lots of things that we can give you access to, and then see an improvement. If you were to look in 3 months' time or 6 months' time, hopefully that score would have increased and improved. So that's the P of PAWA. The A is all about then understanding and establishing your areas of focus, because there's just so much to think about. If we think about life in general, family matters, work, then all of our finances, trying to get through the month, trying to make sure we've got money, trying to make sure we've got plans for the future. There's a lot to think about, and it can get a little bit overwhelming, really, and we end up then just not doing anything. So what the A is all about is to then look at what areas of focus you need to think about, what's relevant to you that you need to focus on and give your attention to. And it's different for everyone. We're all at different stages in life, but possibly have a little think about what areas are relevant to you, and maybe limit it to 2. Again, otherwise there's just so much to think about. It can become overwhelming and we don't do anything. So it starts with money management. I think probably most of us could have a focus on that, looking around, getting on top of debt and making sure we've got our budgets in place. It's very common when we see people, the amount of people that just haven't got a budget. It's really common for people to just sort of get through, but that can really help. It might be that you're looking to get onto the property ladder. So that's really an area of focus where you're looking to put a plan together and understand the numbers and start working towards that. It could be that you've got a family, or you're going to start a family, and you want to make sure that the right financial protection is in place. It could be that you're in a position to start really looking at investing for your future, and how does that work? The basics around investments and pensions. Or it could be that you're towards kind of the latter stages of your career, and you're really wanting to focus on modern retirement planning. What does that look like? Understanding, again, the numbers and the figures, and having a bit more of a plan in place on that. So again, just jot down possibly a couple of the areas of focus that you think might be relevant to you. The W of PAWA is then looking at what support is available and what are the next steps for you. So again, we've kind of got a philosophy that financial well-being comes down to 3 key areas, and that is accessing education. then possibly looking at guidance. I'll explain the differences, and then possibly having access to professional advice if that's relevant. And I think it's important to know the difference. So education being purely content, looking and learning, increasing your knowledge through sessions like this. We've also got a financial wellbeing microsite that I'll give you the link to later, where you'd be able to access lots of different content, lots of video, articles, podcasts, lots of different content around lots of different topics and themes. So education is really the kind of the starting point. Guidance would be maybe once you've improved your knowledge and your understanding, and you might have specific questions about certain things, about possibly your areas of focus, and being signposted or guided to relevant information to talk through sort of just general facts and figures of what's available. And then the last part being the advice side is where you might be in a position where you actually need a personal recommendation. So that would obviously incorporate speaking to advisors who will have to ask questions and get to know your personal situation to then be able to give personal recommendations in writing. So all three areas really, we believe, make up kind of our financial well-being. So again, you might think, actually, I just need to read a little bit more. I need to find out a little bit more information about certain things. You might be in a position where you do want some sort of human guidance and signposting, so we can arrange that. Or you might be ready for advice and want to know the options around that. So the last letter, the A of PAWA, is all about taking action, really. There's no point doing all the other bits, getting a financial wellbeing score and then understanding your areas of focus, knowing what the next steps are, and then just not doing anything. So hopefully we can make it really easy that you can take action, put something in place, and then when you do revisit your financial wellbeing score, as I've said, hopefully that you can see an improvement in that.